Raphael and I have been together for 3 years. We met through mutual friends, bonded over our love for indie films and spicy food, and slowly built something real. Last year, during a quiet weekend getaway, he proposed. It was simple, heartfelt, and exactly us. Our wedding is set for June, just under 3 months away. We've been living together for almost 2 years, and until recently, I felt like we were rock solid. He works a hybrid schedule, from home 2 or 3 days a week and in the office on the others. I always liked that balance. It gave us time together, but also space. Whenever we'd talk about his job, it was usually with mild frustration. He'd mention how most of his coworkers were older, hard to relate to, and honestly, kind of dull. That's why it stood out when, a few months ago, a new name started coming up in our conversations: Juliana. At first, it was casual. He said she'd joined recently, seemed cool, knew a lot about music, and had a sharp sense of humor. He said she'd recommended a Netflix show that he ended up binging. Another time, he mentioned she'd shared part of her lunch with him. Apparently, it was something weird but good. Nothing about those comments was outright concerning. I even teased him a bit about how he'd never taken lunch recommendations from me that seriously. But gradually, her name kept popping up. Not every day, but enough for me to notice. He mentioned that she was the only one at work he really got along with, and that stuck with me. Raphael isn't the kind of guy who gets close to people easily, especially not at work. So this connection felt different. Still, I didn't want to be paranoid. I reminded myself that Raphael has always been loyal and respectful. We've had our small disagreements, sure, but nothing ever made me question his commitment. I didn't think one new coworker should change that. Until one night, during his work trip, when something just didn't sit right with me. The first time I really took notice of Juliana was when Raphael was laughing on a work call. It was one of those rare moments when I was passing by his home office and actually heard joy in his voice, something his job rarely brought him. When I asked who he was talking to, he casually said, "Oh, just Juliana." She was telling me this ridiculous story about her cat knocking over her coffee mid-meeting. He brushed it off, but something in the way he smiled lingered with me. From then on, little things started to accumulate. He'd mention her taste in shows, how she introduced him to that quirky docuseries, or how she guessed correctly that he'd like that weird sci-fi movie. It didn't feel threatening at first. If anything, I was happy he'd finally found someone he could talk to at work. But that happiness started shifting into something else. I noticed how often her name came up in passing. It was never dramatic, never too intimate, just frequent. Like she was becoming part of his daily rhythm. And then came the lunch thing. "Juliana gave me a bite of her curry today," he said once, chuckling. "It was too spicy even for me." I remember looking at him and thinking, when was the last time you asked to try my food like that? What made it more unsettling was how out of character it was. Raphael had always kept work and personal life pretty separate. His co-workers were just people he worked with, nothing more. So why now? Why her? I tried to convince myself I was being silly, that it was just a harmless friendship. But the doubt had planted itself quietly in the back of my mind. Still, I hadn't said anything yet. I didn't want to seem insecure or controlling, but I kept watching, listening, filing things away. And when he told me about the upcoming work trip, with Juliana among the team going, I felt something twist in my gut. I didn't say a word. Not yet. It wasn't like I was actively spying on him. I wasn't checking his phone or interrogating him every night. But I noticed things. The way he lit up when he mentioned a joke she told. How quickly he responded to her messages, even when we were watching a movie. I kept telling myself it was nothing. He was just being friendly. He'd never given me a reason to doubt him. And yet, the feeling didn't go away. One evening, while we were having dinner, Raphael casually said, "Juliana said I'd like that Thai place near the station." He hadn't even looked up from his plate. I nodded, but inside, it stung a little. Why does her opinion matter so much all of a sudden? He barely reacts when I recommend places. Later that week, I overheard him on a Zoom call again. His tone shifted whenever she spoke. Light, relaxed, easy. It wasn't flirty exactly, just comfortable. And that comfort unnerved me more than any obvious flirting would have. It felt like they were in a world I wasn't part of. I started second-guessing myself. Was I just being possessive? Overthinking? I mean, people are allowed to have friends at work, right? I tried to bring it up once gently. I said something like, "You and Juliana seem to get along well, huh?" He shrugged. "Yeah, she's cool. Makes the day go by faster." And that was it. But it didn't feel like nothing to me. I couldn't put my finger on it, but the growing familiarity between them, the private little in-jokes, the shared lunches, it started to build up. I wasn't accusing him of anything. I just couldn't ignore how I felt. Still, I said nothing more. I didn't want to be the jealous fiancé. I wanted to trust him. I chose to trust him. Even when he packed for the trip to another city with some of his colleagues, including Juliana, I pushed those thoughts away. But everything changed the night he texted me from that trip. Raphael had mentioned the trip a couple of weeks earlier. Just a short stay at another branch office with a few team members, some meetings, and maybe a dinner or two. I didn't think much of it at first. He travels every now and then, and it's never been a problem between us. He told me Juliana would be going too, and although something in me flinched, I smiled and said, "Hope it's a smooth trip." The first 2 days were fine. He sent me pictures of his hotel room, joked about the terrible breakfast, told me about a boring presentation he sat through. It all felt routine. Then, on the third night, I texted him around 8. Just a simple, "Hey, done with dinner? Want to talk for a bit?" A minute later, he replied, "Taking a walk with Juliana, just checking out the area around the hotel." I stared at the screen. My fingers froze. A walk? At night? Just the two of them? I asked. "Who else is there?" He replied, "Just us." Everyone else went to their rooms. My chest tightened. I don't even remember how long I sat there, just staring at the message. My head was spinning. It wasn't like I expected him to never speak to her, but walking alone with her late at night? That didn't sit right with me. Not even a little bit. I replied, "That's seriously disrespectful." Then I called him. He didn't answer. Instead, he texted, "I can't really talk in private right now. I'll call you when I'm back." I called again. This time he picked up. His voice was light, casual, like nothing was wrong. "What's up?" he asked. I told him straight out. "What are you doing walking alone with her this late? That's not okay." He sighed, like I was overreacting. "We were bored. Just walking around a bit. It's not a big deal." I could tell Juliana was nearby. He didn't want to talk. He just said, "I'll call you back when I'm at the hotel." I hung up, furious, and waited. 15 minutes later, he called me back. His tone was calmer now, but I was still burning. I didn't wait. I told him straight, "You have no business being out alone this late with another woman. You're going to be my husband in less than 3 months. That is not okay." He paused, then let out this soft, annoyed chuckle. "Seriously? We just went for a walk. We were bored. You're making it into something it's not." That only made it worse. I wasn't accusing him of cheating. I wasn't even implying anything happened. But the fact that he didn't get why this felt wrong to me, it broke something open. "I'm not saying you did anything," I said. "But how would you feel if I went on a late-night walk, just me and another guy, while you were at home waiting for me to call?" He was quiet, then flatly, "I'd trust you." I swallowed hard. This isn't about trust. This is about respect, about boundaries. You know this would make anyone uncomfortable, right? He sighed. I didn't think it was that deep. It was just a walk. I tried to explain that it was about how it looked, how it made me feel, how it crossed a line that should be obvious. He didn't agree. He kept insisting it was innocent, that I was reading too much into it, that I was being paranoid. Eventually, I calmed down enough to just ask one thing. Please don't do anything alone with her again. Not for my sake, but for ours. For the sake of peace between us. He was quiet for a moment, then said, "Fine." I exhaled, thinking it was over, that we'd move on. But then, just as we were about to hang up, he added casually, "Oh, by the way, Juliana and I were planning to grab lunch tomorrow at that little place we saw during our walk." I froze. "Just the two of you?" "Yeah," he said, like it was the most normal thing in the world. I couldn't believe it. After everything we just talked about, after I poured my heart out asking him not to spend time alone with her, he turns around and tells me they're getting lunch. Alone. Again. I didn't yell, but my voice definitely sharpened. "Raphael, are you serious right now? Did you not hear anything I just said?" He sounded annoyed. "I heard you, but it's just lunch. It's not like we're going on a date." That stung. I wasn't calling it a date. I wasn't accusing him of infidelity. But he was completely missing the point. Again. "I asked you not to do things alone with her because it makes me uncomfortable. Because you're my fiancé. And now you're telling me you've already made plans to do exactly that?" He shot back. "We just wanted to check the place out. Nobody else gets along with us like that. We don't vibe with the others." That phrase, "we don't vibe with the others," hit harder than I expected. Since when was it we? Since when did he and Juliana have this dynamic where no one else fit in? I pressed on. "Can you just invite someone else? Anyone? I don't care who. Just don't make it a one-on-one thing." He groaned. "Why? So you can feel like you won some kind of control match? This isn't about trust. This is about you not being able to handle me having a friend." I was trying not to cry. "No, it's not about control. It's about peace of mind. About not feeling like the third wheel in my own relationship." The line went quiet for a moment. Then he muttered, "Fine, I'll invite someone, but it's going to ruin it. And honestly, the fact that you don't trust me like this, it really hurts." I wanted to explain better. I wanted to say it wasn't about him. It was about the boundaries I thought we had. But all I managed was, "Okay, thanks." We ended the call on that flat note, and for the first time, I wasn't sure where we stood. The next morning, I woke up hoping things would feel a little lighter. I sent Raphael a good morning message like I always do. He replied, but the tone was different, short, almost mechanical. Just a morning with no emoji, no warmth. I stared at the screen for a while, trying to push away the pit forming in my stomach. I told myself maybe he was just tired or caught up with work. But I knew better. He was mad. Or worse, disappointed. Around noon, I couldn't help myself. I texted him again, asking if he'd ended up inviting someone else to lunch. He replied a few minutes later, "Yeah." I told Marco to come with us. That us still bothered me. I didn't reply right away. I needed to calm down, not make things worse. Later that day, when he finally called, the energy between us felt stiff. I tried to keep it casual, asked how lunch went. He said, "Fine." Food was good. Marco didn't talk much, though. I asked, "So, was it awkward?" He let out a dry laugh. "Only because it was forced. You made it into a big thing." That hit hard. I didn't want to be the reason his day felt ruined. I just wanted him to see where I was coming from. I tried one last time. "I'm not trying to make your life difficult, Rafa. I don't feel comfortable with you being that close to someone else, especially like that. You matter too much to me. It makes me anxious." He didn't say anything at first. Then he replied, "Okay, I get that. But I need you to know how exhausting it is to feel like I'm always walking on eggshells around this." We hung up soon after. No argument. No resolution either. just silence sitting between us like a wall. And I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe this wasn't about one walk or one lunch. Maybe something deeper had started to break. The tension didn't go away. If anything, it grew heavier in the days that followed. Our texts were shorter, his tone colder. It was like something shifted after that lunch conversation, like I crossed some invisible line that couldn't be uncrossed. One night, I tried to talk to him again. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to reconnect. I asked him if he was still upset. He responded flatly, "I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed." That word cut deeper than anger ever could. I asked why. He said, "Because I thought you trusted me, and now I feel like you don't. That sucks." I took a deep breath. "Raphael, it's not about trust. I do trust you. But trust doesn't mean I have to be okay with everything. Some things just feel wrong. And walking alone at night with someone you're close with, having lunch one-on-one with her, I just didn't expect that from you." He snapped back, "So what? I'm not allowed to have friends anymore?" "That's not what I'm saying," I replied, trying to stay calm. "But you don't just have this friend. You chose to spend time with her in a way that crosses boundaries in a relationship. You prioritized her company over how I felt." "You're twisting everything," he said. "I wasn't hiding anything. I told you about it. I was honest. Isn't that what matters?" Honesty matters, but awareness does too. Awareness of how your actions affect the person you love. I tried to explain that, but I could hear how drained he was. And honestly, I was too. Eventually, I just said, "Can you at least try to see it from my side, even if you don't agree?" He didn't answer right away. Then finally, "I don't know. I'll try." But I could tell he wasn't really with me in that moment. And I couldn't shake the growing fear that maybe he was already more emotionally invested in her than he realized, or than he was willing to admit. The next morning, his message came in at 7:30. Just one word: morning. No heart, no love you, no warmth. I stared at it for a while, wondering if I should even reply. I did, but my good morning sat unanswered for hours. That silence used to mean he was busy. Now, it just felt like distance. A gap neither of us knew how to close. I kept replaying our conversations in my head. Was I too harsh? Was I being unreasonable? I scrolled back through our messages from the past few weeks, and it was all there. Her name, his growing comfort with her, my quiet discomfort turning louder. None of it was imagined. But now, I was the one left feeling like I broke something. When we finally spoke that night, it wasn't even a conversation. He sounded tired, distracted. I asked how his day went. Fine. I asked if he wanted to talk later. Not really. I'm just wiped. No warmth, no softness, just flat. I couldn't take it anymore. Are we okay? I asked. He paused. I don't know. I just feel like this whole thing made me look like someone I'm not. And I hate that. I told him I wasn't trying to change who he is. I just wanted to feel secure. I thought we shared the same sense of what's appropriate, of what respect looks like in a relationship. And now I wasn't so sure anymore. He didn't respond to that. He just said, I need to sleep. That night, I laid in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was a fight we could come back from, or if it was the beginning of a new version of us. One where we tiptoe around each other, always a little hurt, a little resentful. I didn't want to lose him, but I didn't want to lose myself either. It's been a few days now. The air between us still feels thick, like we're both waiting for the other to fix it, but neither of us knows how. I keep thinking about how something so small, so harmless in his eyes, created this wedge between us. I still believe in us. I still want this wedding, this life, this future with Raphael. But I also can't shake the feeling that I wasn't asking for too much. I wasn't asking him to cut someone off or stop being friendly. I was asking for boundaries, for reassurance, for respect. It wasn't about Juliana, not entirely. It was about how he reacted when I told him something hurt me. About how quickly he dismissed my feelings as insecurity. About how, instead of leaning in to understand me, he pulled away and made me feel like I was the problem. I've replayed every word I said, every word he said. I've wondered if I could have phrased it better, if I should have just stayed quiet. But then I ask myself, if I can't speak up about what makes me uncomfortable now, before we're even married, what kind of marriage are we building? Raphael hasn't brought it up again. Neither have I. We're functioning, sending good mornings, sharing memes, updating each other on little things. But that connection we had, it's still cracked. And I don't know if it'll fully heal unless we really talk. Unless he sees this from my side. So here I am, putting this out there. Not just for clarity, but because I genuinely don't know anymore. Was I the asshole for asking my fiancé not to go on a late-night walk alone with another woman? Was it too much to ask him not to have one-on-one lunches with her? Or did I simply ask for a level of respect that should already come with being someone's future spouse? What do you think?